very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gampi. Lots lined up. Let's get started. Will Vance influence the foreign policy in Trump 2.0? Will he be the real foreign minister? And what would that mean for different parts of the world and various equations? On Gravitas tonight, we delve into how the developments are shaping up right now and why they are extremely significant. Here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. Is the Islamic State making a comeback? We tell you all about what's happened in Oman and why serious questions are being raised following the shooting near a Shiite mosque in the capital there. Why are students protesting in Bangladesh? We tell you all about the quota row, which has led to a lot of anger. Is artificial intelligence battle ready? What would its increased use really mean? We dig deep. You do not want to miss this story. We also tell you all about India's Glacier Baba. What is his story and why is he making headlines? All this and more coming up tonight. Will J.D. Vance influence the foreign policy in Trump 2.0? Does Trump's VP pick indicate a tough approach towards China? Could J.D. Vance's views be bad news for Europe, for Ukraine? These are some of the questions on the minds of analysts and voters in America. You see, it had only been 24 hours since Donald Trump announced the Ohio senator as his running mate when Vance declared China, not Russia, as the biggest threat to the United States. And not just that, Vance has also openly opposed U.S. funding for Ukraine's war efforts. The question is, does this mean Vance is bad news for Ukraine? And what do Vance's views on the world really tell us about what Trump 2.0 could possibly look like? Let's just understand this, starting off with China. For starters, Vance is known as a China hawk. And by the way, he's also a loyal supporter of Trump's America First agenda. So when Vance declared China as the real threat to America, he basically reiterated Trump's belief that China's rise as the world's factory has ruined America's manufacturing sector. In fact, speaking to an American news outlet on Monday, Vance, who has opposed U.S. funding for Ukraine's defense against Russia, said that Donald Trump would prioritize a negotiated end to that crisis, just so the U.S. can finally focus on the real issue. And what would the real issue be? No points for guessing, China. Vance said of China, and I'm quoting, "That's the biggest threat to our country, and we are completely distracted from it," quote unquote. Of course, Vance's comments provoked a response from China. Beijing expressed displeasure at Vance's comment a day after he made it. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian stated, I'm quoting, "We are always opposed to the U.S. making China an issue in elections," quote unquote. But of course, China has become a significant poll issue in America. And this begs a crucial question. Does Vance's comment indicate a tough U.S. stance on China in a second Trump administration? Now, already, since Vance was announced as the running mate, the prospect of escalating trade tensions under a second Trump administration negatively impacted Chinese markets in the past 2 days. Remember that when Trump was in the White House, he had launched a trade war against China. This year, as a presidential candidate, Trump has suggested that he would impose tariffs of 60% or higher on all Chinese goods. Vance has long backed pivoting U.S. foreign policy towards East Asia, supporting Trump's plan to increase tariffs on Chinese goods that were undercutting American workers. And therefore, in order to execute his plan, Trump will have a loyalist in J.D. Vance. Sure, in the U.S. political system, vice presidents typically have limited direct influence on foreign policy, but Vance, you see, is committed to supporting Trump's decisions. On his potential vice presidency, Vance has vowed that Trump has a person he can trust, a person he can rely on, a person who can actually advance Donald Trump's agenda. Now, here's a little background on Vance. After serving as a Marine, Vance attended Yale Law School and worked as a venture capitalist in San Francisco. He rose to prominence thanks to his book Hillbilly Elegy, in which he explains Trump's popularity among impoverished white Americans. Furthermore, Vance has also referred to letting China into the World Trade Organization in 2001 as a disaster. His remarks are completely in accordance with Trump's stated views. In fact, analysts say that's exactly how Trump likes it. As a senator, Vance is also aligned with congressional Republicans. So when it comes to China, Vance will be in good company with the Republican leadership in the Congress. But when it comes to China in Washington, there is a broad bipartisan agreement. Democratic President Joe Biden has largely kept Trump-era tariffs on China in place. Trump obviously has taken credit for the tariff policy, but Trump and Republicans have also criticized Biden's efforts to ease tensions with Beijing in the past year. And when it comes to China, there is one thing both Republicans and Democrats agree upon. It's that the U.S. needs to get ready for a conflict with China over Taiwan. In the past, Vance has voiced support for building up the Taiwanese military with American weapons. Analysts say that in a potential Trump 2.0 administration, Taiwan would be a priority issue, especially due to its importance to the U.S., especially in the semiconductor industry. However, the point of divergence comes on the topic of the Ukraine war. Trump and Vance mostly differ from Washington's foreign policy in their opposition to U.S. military aid for Ukraine. In February this year, Vance criticized the indefinite funding of the conflict in Ukraine by American taxpayers. He highlighted the weapons shortages caused by the Ukraine war. It was a rare moment of honesty about the limits of U.S. power made by a politician. And what's more, Vance has also blasted Europe for being over-dependent on the U.S. when it comes to military aid. Naturally, America's friends in Europe, already worried about a second Donald Trump presidency, are not too kicked about Vance. Some Western analysts see Vance as one of the most isolationist members of the Republican Party. Reports, in fact, quote European officials calling Vance a disaster for Ukraine and, by extension, for the NATO and the European Union, as it backs Ukraine in the war against Russia. It is worth noting that Vance played a key role in the effort to kill off a Ukraine aid bill that was stuck in the Senate earlier this year. At the time, Vance had famously told reporters, I'm quoting, "America cannot write blank checks indefinitely." Another concern weighing heavily on European officials' minds is that if the Trump-Vance ticket wins in November, the new administration would likely push Europe to align more closely with America's position regarding China. However, the problem is that the EU has been less aggressive towards China than the US. And apart from Ukraine, where does Vance stand on other Europe-related issues? In a nutshell, Vance has stated that the US should pivot away from Europe and that it is in line with his views about focusing primarily on China. Additionally, Vance has also criticized Britain's Labour Party after it came back to power under the newly minted Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Just last night, we told you that the Labour Party was taken aback when Vance said that the UK might be the first Islamist country with nukes. Vance's foreign policy views so far painting a clear picture of what the Trump presidency could look like. A tougher, more aggressive US if Trump comes back to power. Will Trump-Vance end the war in Ukraine? Will they start a new one with China? All will be clear only after the results of the November elections. Is the Islamic State making a comeback? Look at what happened in Oman. There was a shooting near a mosque in Muscat where worshippers had gathered on the eve of Ashura. 6 people died, 28 others were injured. Among those dead were 4 Pakistanis and an Indian. Now, terror attacks are rare in Oman. This is a quiet country. Oman has a population of around 4.6 million, 40% of whom are expats. The country follows a policy of non-intervention and maintains a well-trained security force. Oman, in fact, is considered as one of the most stable and secure countries in West Asia. So what really happened? Who attacked Oman? The Islamic State. The Sunni Muslim jihadist group saying 3 of its fighters were involved in the attack. And this, by the way, is not the first time the ISIS is targeting Shias or Shia ceremonies. But tonight's story is not about the Islamic State's attacks on and the persecution of the Shias. The attack in Oman is a reminder of something else as well. The ISIS has never before attacked Oman. There's no known branch of the IS in Oman. Yet, there was an ISIS attack on Oman. Now, what does that tell you? Is the Islamic State making a comeback? Is it now planning to attack regions and countries that were previously not under its radar? In the year 2014, the Islamic State declared its caliphate in parts of Iraq and Syria. It rained terror over millions, sexually abused Yazidi minorities, trafficked women and children, carried out attacks around the world. A coalition was formed with over 80 countries to fight the ISIS. And what followed were years of fighting. In the year 2017, ISIS lost the area it controlled in Iraq. It once had a base only a 30 minutes drive from Baghdad, 30 minutes. In 2019, the group's leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, was killed in a raid in northwest Syria. And the same year, ISIS lost control of its territory in Syria. But was the Islamic State eliminated? Hardly. Sleeper cells remained, not just in Iraq and Syria, but around the world. For years, the Islamic State has been operating in the shadows. Today, the Islamic State appears to be regrouping. It appears to be making a comeback. Numbers are a proof. The Islamic State was behind 121 attacks in Syria and Iraq in 2023. 121 attacks. The Islamic State has claimed 153 attacks in Syria and Iraq so far in 2024. These numbers are as per the US military. The US Central Command believes that the ISIS is attempting to reconstitute itself. This year, the Islamic State has claimed attack on Moscow Concert Hall that killed at least 40. It also claimed responsibility for the attack on tourists in Afghanistan in the month of May. The Islamic State was also behind the attack on Iran's Kerman in January. At least 90 people lost their lives in that attack. It was higher than the death toll in the bombing of the Islamic Republican Party's headquarters in the year 1981. Now, what does all of this tell you? Is the Islamic State making a comeback? Remains the big question. How many IS fighters do you think there are today? At least 10,000 in Iraq and Syria, estimates the United Nations. A UN report also saying, in fact, that there may be anywhere between 800 to 1,200 ISIS fighters loyal to the Islamic State in Egypt's Sinai province. There could also be fighters in Libya and Yemen. In Uganda, IS-allied fighters have staged several attacks. They have raided villages, killed and abducted students from boarding schools. Fighters in Mali, Niger, northern Burkina Faso have pledged allegiance to the Islamic State. In the year 2023, a senior IS leader was killed in northern Somalia. The same year, ISIS modules were also busted in India. Following the fall of the ISIS, experts believe that Africa is the only part of the world where the Islamic State is growing. Is it now time for a rethink? As the world's attention is caught in the war in Ukraine and Gaza, the Islamic State is silently escalating its attacks. It is regrouping. Perhaps a lot of this was also made possible by the Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan. It gave the ISIS a base. In a way, it also gave the ISIS resources. The ISIS Khorasan has captured weapons left behind by the United States. Now the group is carrying out major international attacks like the Moscow concert hall attack. So what next? Do world leaders have a plan to counter the threat from a resurging ISIS? On paper, the 87-member global coalition against Daesh remains alive. Its mission, basically to tackle the Islamic State on all fronts, remains relevant. Let the Oman attack be a grave reminder to this group and to every world leader that the Islamic State terror is not over. Is the worst case scenario coming to life? Are Israel and Hezbollah inching closer to an all-out war? Just look at the developments. They're extremely concerning. Things seem to be heading in a very dangerous direction. In the latest, around 100 rockets reportedly targeted different areas of northern Israel. This happened in 4 separate waves, by the way, on Tuesday night and early Wednesday morning, as the Israel Defense Forces responded with strikes on Hezbollah sites in southern Lebanon. Media reports claim these killed at least 5 people. Let's tell you what the IDF has said. According to it, at least 40 rockets had been fired towards the border city of Kiryat Shmona. And there's more. A separate wave of 10 rockets fired from Lebanon had set off sirens in the western Galilee. The IDF said they all landed in open areas. In fact, according to the IDF, some 30 rockets were fired towards the Mount Meron area in the upper Galilee. So what really happened? Hezbollah claimed responsibility for the attack, saying it came as a response to the killing of 3 Syrian children earlier. What has the Lebanese official media said? According to it, 5 people were killed in Israeli strikes on South Lebanon, including 3 children. And by the way, those are not the only developments. There's a lot that's going on. As per the Palestinian Ministry of Health, Israel struck central Gaza's Nuseirat on Wednesday, destroying a mosque and the residential square surrounding it. Palestinians were seen rummaging through the rubble of the damaged area, some clearing it, some probing for belongings. According to the health officials, Israeli forces pounded areas in the central Gaza Strip on Wednesday, killing at least 9 Palestinians, while Israeli tanks carried out a limited advance further into Rafah in the south. And amid all of this, the big question remains, is an all-out catastrophic war between Israel and Hezbollah inevitable? There are growing concerns over the escalating tensions. You know what Hezbollah's leader Syed Hassan Nasrallah has said in the latest? According to him, Hezbollah will hit new Israeli targets if Israel keeps targeting civilians in Lebanon. Meanwhile, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to step up pressure on Hamas in war-torn Gaza after the US criticized the high civilian death toll in the recent attacks. Netanyahu basically defended Israel's approach during the more than 9-month war, saying, I'm quoting, Hamas is under pressure. The question is, which way will things go? We cannot say. But one thing is for sure here. If an all-out war does erupt between Israel and Hezbollah, the consequences for the region and beyond would be catastrophic. And let's now shift focus to Bangladesh, where university campuses have become battlegrounds in a way over a contentious government job quota system. Our next report getting you the complete story and the latest from on the ground.
The decision by Bangladesh's High Court to reinstate 30% government job quota for the descendants of the 1971 independence war veterans has ignited violent protests. Students who support quotas for women, ethnic minorities and the disabled are vehemently opposing this specific allocation, calling it unfair. The anti-quota protesters have said that while they are not against the quota system in general, they do want the 30% quota for the descendants of 1971 freedom fighters to be abolished. Terming government jobs as the only hope for many young people in Bangladesh, they feel the quota system is depriving them of opportunities. While the students have been protesting since July 1st, following the High Court's order, the violence began at Dhaka University on Monday, where clashes between protesters and members of the ruling Awami League student wing, the Bangladesh Chhatra League, left over 100 students injured. The unrest then spread to Jahangirnagar University in Savar on Tuesday, resulting in more injuries.
We were rallying. Suddenly they attacked in front of Bijoy Ekator Hall first. Then we were coming towards Vice Chancellor's house. When we were stopped there, Chhatra League again attacked us from behind. They were hitting heads only, in a targeted way.
What is the quota system in Bangladesh? In 1972, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the country's founding father, introduced a quota system. The system reserved a percentage of government jobs for the children and grandchildren of Bangladeshi citizens who fought in the 1971 War of Independence against Pakistan. Under this system, only 44% first and second-class government jobs are merit-based, while the rest are reserved for specific communities. 30% for the children and grandchildren of freedom fighters, 10% for women, 10% for backward districts, 5% for ethnic minorities, 1% for people with physical disabilities. The government defends this quota system, claiming it honors the sacrifices of war veterans and their families. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's party, the Awami League, accuses the protesters of being Razakars, a deeply offensive term for collaborators during the 1971 war, further fueling the fire. The opposition, including the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, has called for marches to support the anti-quota protesters. Analysts warn that the government's response and refusal to address legitimate grievances are only deepening societal divisions and risking further instability. Emphasizing that the government needs to find a way to listen to the students' concerns and find a fair solution to the quota issue. They further said that resorting to violence and labeling the protesters as anti-national forces is only going to worsen the situation. The Bangladesh government has cancelled all classes in public and private campuses across the country. Furthermore, medical, textile, engineering and other colleges associated with the universities have also been closed until further notice. As tensions remain high on university campuses, the call for a peaceful and equitable resolution grows louder.
Since the advent of artificial intelligence, we've been constantly hearing about how AI will possibly take over our jobs, how it will impact us, and perhaps even replace soldiers in the battlefields and power weapons during times of war. Today, with simultaneous conflicts raging worldwide, it's not a matter of if or when AI enters the battlefield. AI has already entered the battlefield. We are witnessing its presence in the war-torn fields of Ukraine. It's in Gaza by Israel. And now it is venturing into potential conflict zones such as the South China Sea. You heard that right. The biggest question today is AI even battle ready? Today, for the first time, scientists with the Chinese Navy have revealed tactics and technology being used by Chinese warships against the toughest jamming aircraft that the US has. I'm talking about America's EA-18G Growler. And it was recently rendered completely useless by China's new radar tech that uses AI. As per reports, Chinese researchers have revealed how the People's Liberation Army, the Navy's new radar was able to defeat the US Navy's EA-18G Growler electronic warfare systems. They are calling this new radar system the Kill Web. And AI, by the way, played a very crucial role in achieving this new feat. In January 2024 itself, officers and sailors of the People's Liberation Army aboard the Chinese Navy warship Nanchang were honored for their actions against a US aircraft carrier fleet. Chinese media broadcast footage showing a close encounter between two US jets, one of which was believed to be an EA-18G Growler and the Chinese warship. Videos released by China at the time suggested that the EA-18G may have adopted a combat technique known as jamming while accompanying, creating a formation with other warplanes and conducting noise jamming. Now, for those unfamiliar with the term, noise jamming basically involves releasing strong signals of defense, false targets to potentially blind a warship. However, despite the American jet's attempt to jam the Chinese warship, the radar system on the Nanchang continued to operate normally, and it even locked onto the main targets of the US fleet. A commander on the Nanchang later told state media that the American warplanes backed off shortly after. So, are China's claims true? If Beijing has in fact developed a radar that can overcome even the toughest American jamming system, how is US losing the edge to China? No points for guessing, it is AI. And if China's claims are true, it means they have developed a radar system that can basically outsmart even the most advanced American jamming technology. This new Chinese radar is described as having cognitive abilities, by the way, enabling it to sense its surroundings, process information, and manage resources effectively. And as a result, it can effectively counter the complex jamming techniques used by the American EA-18G. Just to put it simply, this is what's fueling the invisible war that is raging in the South China Sea between two of the world's biggest military powers. China and the US are racing for AI supremacy, and right now it looks like China is leading. Last month itself, reports surfaced that China had developed the first AI commander for war simulations. The AI commander has reportedly been designed to mirror human strengths and weaknesses. According to the South China Morning Post, the AI commander is confined to a laboratory at the Joint Operations College of the National Defense University in Hebei province. According to its creators, the AI has already been involved in large-scale computer war games for the People's Liberation Army. And what's more, China has also taken AI to the skies. It claims to have developed an intelligent air combat AI, one that can make split-second tactical decisions and explain its reasoning to human partners. How exactly? With data visualizations and natural language. This AI is claimed to be capable of articulating the rationale behind its choices. Chinese researchers say that this groundbreaking AI can engage in intelligent discourse using words, data visualizations, and charts to explain specific flight instructions. They claim that this AI can achieve a near 100% win rate in simulated aerial combat scenarios. Of course, the US is not far behind. The Pentagon is reportedly working on over 800 active military AI projects, including evaluating threats and enhancing battlefield decision-making. Clearly, the stakes are high, and the race is well and truly on. The integration of AI into military systems is a significant leap in modern warfare, but there are limitations to AI in its current state, not to mention practical and also ethical concerns, especially in the context of lethal autonomous weapons equipped with AI. There are new risks and challenges that must be carefully considered. For example, while AI-enhanced mechanisms may enhance the military capabilities, they also introduce potential dangers such as the AI going rogue or malfunctioning in the battlefield, potentially resulting in the loss of innocent lives. And this brings us to the original question: is AI battle ready? At least 6 people have been found dead at an upmarket hotel in Bangkok. Among the dead is an American of Vietnamese descent, and the rest are Vietnamese. Investigators have now ascertained that the 6 were poisoned by the lethal compound cyanide. The case is shrouded in mystery, as 5 bodies were found lying inside a room, and the 6th was found by the door. The law enforcement has ruled out earlier reports that the foreign tourists were killed in a shooting. Traces of cyanide were found in drinking glasses and teacups. It is suspected that one of the 6 might have laced pre-ordered drinks with cyanide. Although it remains to be seen if this was an attempt at mass murder, mass suicide, or some other motive was at play. The Royal Thai Police is being assisted by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Grand Hyatt Erevan Hotel has over 350 rooms and is located in a popular tourist district known for luxury shopping and restaurants. Thailand's economy is heavily reliant on tourism. The country's premier does not want the mystery deaths of the tourists to negatively impact the country's reputation as a welcoming destination for holidaymakers. Take a look at this report to find out more.
Thai police are investigating the deaths of 6 foreign nationals whose bodies were found in a room in a Hyatt hotel in Bangkok on Tuesday. They are looking for a 7th person in connection with the incident. All 6 were of Vietnamese descent, including 2 Americans. Police believe they may have ingested something that killed them and that they were not the victims of robbery or assault.
Initially, from the scene inspection, there was no fight, no harm done. The property, as far as we can see, has not been ransacked. It is assumed that there was no intention toward the property and no outsiders entered, as determined from the fingerprint investigation. It is possible that it occurred from the inside, possibly a hideout, which indeed originated from the inside.
The U.S. State Department said Tuesday that it is monitoring the situation.
Whenever a U.S. citizen dies in a foreign country, local authorities are responsible for determining the cause of death.
Thailand Prime Minister Soita Thaiwasin, who visited the hotel on Tuesday, has ordered a swift investigation. His office said he was concerned about the impact on tourism. It's the key driver for the country's economy. Last year, 28 million visitors spent nearly $34 billion in Thailand. The tourism sector was shaken in October by a shooting spree at a luxury shopping mall close to the Hyatt, in which 2 foreigners were killed.
Moving on for now, at least 8 Indians and 1 Sri Lankan have been rescued from the oil tanker that sank off the coast of Oman on Tuesday evening. Just to recap, 16 crew members, including 13 Indian nationals and 3 Sri Lankans, had been missing since yesterday. A source told WION that an Indian naval warship deployed in the region was sailed at short notice to render search and rescue assistance. So far, 9 people have been rescued by the Indian warship IST. Search and rescue efforts for those still missing are progressing in coordination with the Omani authorities in challenging weather conditions amid the rough sea and strong winds. According to reports, the Comorian oil tanker Prestige Falcon departed from the port of Hamria in Dubai and was on its way to Aden in Yemen when it capsized near Dukma, Oman's prominent industrial hub. Besides the 13 Indians, 3 crew members from Sri Lanka were also on board. Reports indicating the vessel transmitted a distress call around 10 p.m. local time or 4:30 p.m. GMT. The Omani maritime authorities have confirmed the incident on social media and initiated a rescue operation. The Indian Navy also joined the rescue efforts, deploying the INS warship, INS Tej and the surveillance aircraft P-8I. The 117-meter-long oil tanker was built in 2007. These small tankers are typically used for short coastal voyages. The port of Dukma, located on Oman's southwest coast, is near significant oil and gas extraction sites, including a major oil refinery. These fall under Dukma's industrial zone and, as such, are the largest economic projects in Oman. Indians are a majority in the global maritime workforce, and hence they are often among victims of accidents or piracy. In April, 17 Indian crew members of an Israeli-linked commercial ship were stuck in Iran after the country's troops seized the vessel. They were released after long negotiations between India and Iran. 16 Indians in a crew of 26 members were held in the custody of the Equatorial Guinea's Navy and later in Nigeria for 9 months in 2022 on allegations of crude oil theft. The urgency and scale of this rescue operation basically highlighting the seriousness of the situation. Remember, these are real people, not just numbers, and facing a terrifying ordeal in the open sea. It's a heart-wrenching situation as families of those missing sailors await the latest. Let's now talk about something a little less serious. Let me tell you a story of an airline passenger. He boarded an Air India flight from Jeddah to New Delhi. After the flight took off, the cabin crew rolled out the refreshment cart. The passenger was offered a beverage. He said no. He was offered water. No again was the response. Then the food cart was rolled out. The crew again offered the passenger his meal. He would not have any. What was wrong? Was there anything wrong? The cabin crew found the passenger's behavior rather unusual. Normally, they are used to catering to unending calls for water right from the time a passenger takes her seat to sometimes even when the flight is preparing to land. But this man would not drink water even when offered. And it was not like he was carrying his own bottle. And this was a 5.5-hour flight. Was this man a superhuman? Or was he fasting? Or was he plain suspicious? The crew flagged him to the captain. who in turn alerted the security agencies through the air traffic control. When the flight landed in Delhi, the passenger got off the plane, he cleared immigration, picked his bags, and was trying to exit the airport through the green customs channel. The security officers stopped him. The passenger was interrogated, and guess what he admitted to? Concealing gold in his rectum. Is that why he was refusing to eat or drink? You figure out. The gold recovered from the passenger was worth 69 lakh rupees. Now the security agencies have told the flight staff to keep a close eye on passengers refusing food and drinks on long flights. So the next time you want to skip meals, make sure the crew is not silently sending a message to the ground staff. Bon voyage. If a godman had not decided to take a bath in a holy lake, authorities in India's Uttarakhand state would have possibly continued to be in the dark about an unauthorized temple located at an altitude of 5,000 meters on a glacier in the Himalayas. You heard that right, on a glacier. In Uttarakhand's Bageshwar district, personnel from the Revenue, Forest and Police Department are eagerly waiting for the monsoon season to be over. They are the part of a joint team constituted to probe the allegations of a self-styled godman constructing an unauthorized temple in a glacier area. With no registration records with the Revenue Department, authorities in the district were completely caught off guard about the encroachment. And the matter only came to light after a few residents from the Badiakot village, located around 40 kilometers from the temple, complained to the district magistrate about Baba Yogi Chaitanya Akash. The villagers were allegedly upset that Glacier Baba went against tradition and took a bath at a holy lake next to the temple. As per the local belief, only those possessed by a goddess can bathe in the lake in the month of September during the Nanda Ashtami fair, a fair celebrated in remembrance of goddess Nanda and her sister Sunanda. As per reports, nobody knows how the Baba managed to carry raw materials like stones and metal sheets to build the temple without it coming to the knowledge of the authorities. The temple is located nearly 30 kilometers from the nearest habitation, and the area is generally visited by people for fodder and rare medicines only after getting approval from the Forest Department. The probe team will undertake the 2-day trek to the temple site only after the monsoons are over, as the path is extremely dangerous. Only then will we know the real story of the so-called Glacier Baba. 14 high school students in Tokyo were hospitalized after consuming an ultra-spicy snack. The incident involved 30 students who shared the snack after a male student brought it to the school, having got it from his older brother. The affected students reported severe pain in their mouths and stomach, but remained conscious and were treated for minor symptoms. The snack's manufacturer issued an online apology and wished the students a swift recovery. The website highlights the use of ghost pepper as a key ingredient. What is ghost pepper? It is one of the hottest bell peppers in the world, native to the northeastern Indian states. It is certified by the Guinness World Records in 2007 as the world's hottest chili, in fact. This pepper is almost 400 times spicier than a jalapeno pepper. Warnings on the snack's packaging emphasize the potential danger, stating that people with high blood pressure, weak stomachs, or lacking fortitude should not consume it. The recent popularity of spicy snacks, fueled by some social media challenges as well, have led to numerous hospitalizations and even fatalities, like the death of a Massachusetts teenager last year. In a related incident, Denmark recently recalled the Korean ramen noodles with levels of excessively high chili extract. The concentration was found to exceed that in chili chips blamed for poisonings in Germany, underscoring the risks associated with extreme spicy foods. Animated films are riding to the rescue of the Hollywood box office after a sluggish start to the year, and leading the bandwagon is Despicable Me 4 as the family-friendly movie leaves the cash registers ringing. Let's find out everything about the highest grossing franchise in Hollywood.
In 2010, the world was introduced to minions. Characterized by their childlike behavior and their language, the creatures first appeared in Despicable Me.
We stole the Statue of Liberty, the small one from Las Vegas.
The Chris Renaud and Pierre Coffin directorial centered around a former supervillain turned secret agent named Gru, his adoptive daughters Margot, Edith, and Agnes, and his yellow-colored minions. And guess what? The movie became a blockbuster. Not only did it receive positive reviews, but also earned $544 million at the global box office. The success of Despicable Me launched a multimedia franchise, and the first sequel of the super hit came out in 2013. Like its predecessor, Despicable Me 2 became a box office hit. The movie, which followed the story of a retired Gru, earned $971 million worldwide, becoming the third highest grossing film of 2013.
Look at you!
Since then, the franchise has established itself as an important part of the animated industry. It released its third part in 2017. A sequel to Despicable Me 2. Despicable Me 3 saw Gru teaming up with his long-lost twin brother Drew to stop Balthazar Brat.
Hello, Gru. Oh, what about that? What? Oh, girls!
Despite the mixed reviews, the third film crossed $1 billion worldwide, becoming the fourth highest grossing film of 2017.
Happy birthday, dear Dan!
Now, the fourth film sequel of Despicable Me is currently running in theaters near you.
Hello, everybody!
What's up?
Wait a minute.
Despicable Me 4 is doing very well at the box office and has taken the franchise to a new level in terms of earnings. But that's not all. Apart from its 4 installments, the popular franchise also released 2 spin-off prequels based on Minions. The first of those spin-offs came out in 2015, called Minions. The movie followed the yellow creatures while they searched for their replaceable evil master after accidentally killing all of those in history. While the film did not go down well with the critics, its magic certainly worked well at the box office, where it earned nearly $1.2 billion. It became one of the highest grossers of the production house. Due to its success, producers planned another sequel.
Yes. Good night.
In 2022, Minions: The Rise of Gru was released worldwide. Delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the film became a commercial hit and earned around $940 million at the box office.
Time now for Gravitas Recall. The date today is the 17th of July. Let's tell you what happened on this very day decades ago. In the year 1955, to be precise. The day was July 17, 1955, and that day the globally famous amusement park, Walt Disney's theme park Disneyland, was opened to the public in Anaheim, California. That's right. After a year-long construction, Disneyland opened there. It was the first theme park opened by the Walt Disney Company. In the first few weeks itself, thousands visited the park. In fact, in its first 10 weeks itself, there were 1 million visitors. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
What does India want from the new government's budget? How will it respond to expectations from industry? What's in store for you, the taxpayer? Is the government using your hard-earned money wisely? WION cuts out the noise and serves you the facts. Watch continuous coverage on India Budget, Roadmap to a Developed Nation.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Faster, higher, stronger. Words that mean so much on a sporting pitch every 4 years.
ओलंपिक मेडल ने मुझे ये सिखाया कि किस तरीके से अपने आप को संभालना है.
The world's best sporting talents are assembling in Paris later this month. The quest for an Olympic medal is sport's greatest pursuit.
I think people are looking at the Olympics with a lot of hope. More than 200 countries all coming together.
The Olympic Games return to the French capital after a century.
There's not really any cities that compare to it.
Catch all the build-up to the Paris Games on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
Economic turmoil and global unrest have cast a shadow over President Joe Biden's approval ratings.
The rockets are continuing to be fired by Hamas in Gaza, although at a slower rate than previously.
So, right now, we are with the volunteers from the Aleppo municipality. They are still trying to go to the rescue for the people they can find out.
India has emerged as a major diplomatic force at the world stage.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria continues to impact citizens from all walks of life.
The citizens of Gujarat witnessed a mega roadshow here in the city of Ahmedabad.
China is South Africa's largest trading partner for 134 years straight.
A domestic aircraft carrying 72 people on board crashed in Pokhara city in central Nepal.
165 injuries have been moved, 61 people are confirmed dead, and rescue operations continue around me.
After receiving an entire season's rainfall in a span of 48 hours, Chennai city has literally been brought to its knees.
For WION, World is One.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I actually pushed myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 PM IST, 1 PM GMT.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 PM IST, 3:30 PM GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Faster, higher, stronger. Words that mean so much on a sporting pitch every 4 years.
ओलंपिक मेडल ने मुझे ये सिखाया कि किस तरीके से अपने आप को संभालना है.
The world's best sporting talents are assembling in Paris later this month. The quest for an Olympic medal is sport's greatest pursuit.
I think people are looking at the Olympics with a lot of hope. More than 200 countries all coming together.
The Olympic Games return to the French capital after a century.
There's not really any cities that compare to it.
Catch all the build-up to the Paris Games on WION World is One.
Hello and welcome to Pulse on WION The World is One. We are glad you're watching. Thank you very much for joining us at this hour. My name is Eric Njoka. The headlines. Moscow says NATO countries and the alliance itself are preparing for a direct conflict with Russia, asserting that the military alliance is increasing the number of armed forces and the number of weapons. The Inspector General of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security is investigating the Secret Service's planning of the weekend rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, where a man tried to assassinate former President Donald Trump. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer pledges national renewal as the government outlines its plans during the King's speech. Nine survivors, including 8 Indians, rescued from capsized oil tanker MT Prestige Falcon by Indian Navy off the coast of Oman. Fire at a shopping centre in southwestern China kills at least 6 people, 30 others rescued from the blaze as search and rescue operation continues. Dutch Prime Minister vows to bring to justice those behind the downing Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 as relatives of those killed gather to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the disaster. And Croatian captain Luka Modric signs a 1-year contract extension with Spanish and European champions Real Madrid. The 38-year-old will remain with Los Blancos until the end